bike is looking pretty used, so I thought I'd freshen it up with some new graphics. In this tech lesson, I'll be giving you a few tips on how to do this. A few things that help with applying graphics are a small flat blade screwdriver, shop towels, a heat gun, squeegee, and an acetone based cleaner or degreaser. So I'm just going to show you the installation process on one shroud and the exhaust side plate, since those are the most difficult to do. And all the other plastics are pretty simple and you follow the same process. So we're going to start out with the shroud. First thing we're going to do is wipe it down with the cleaner, and then I always heat up the plastic and the graphic with the heat gun first just to prepare it. Especially if it's cold outside, you want those warm before laying them down. So we're going to start applying the graphic at the bottom of the shroud where the two mounting holes are. You always want to start out where there's 2 or 3 holes to line up, because then the graphic's more than likely to line up with the rest of the shroud as well. Now you can just start working your way up the shroud, making sure everything lines up. If you see an air bubble anywhere, don't be afraid to peel the graphic up and work the bubble out. And if something doesn't quite line up, you can use the heat gun to stretch the graphic a little bit. If you've already taken the wax paper off and you need to peel the graphic up a little bit, just rip a small piece from the wax paper from an old graphic and use that so your fingers don't come in contact with the back side of the graphic. I like to use my thumb when applying the graphics instead of a squeegee. I only use a squeegee when I need to remove a crease in the graphic. So once the whole graphic has been laid down, go over it with the heat gun and apply pressure. This will help the glue adhere better. And also the heat gun will show any bubbles that are in the graphic. One thing I've found helpful is that if there's a bubble in the middle of the graphic and you don't want to peel the whole graphic up again, just get a small flat blade screwdriver and run it under the graphic. Once the graphic has been heated up, and you can just push the bubble out right where the path of the screwdriver was. It works pretty good. Once you've gone over the graphic with a heat gun and applied pressure to it and got any bubbles out of it, you can wipe off any glue that's on it with a cleaner. We can move on to the side plate graphic now. The exhaust side is probably the hardest to put on since it's curved. And again, we're going to wipe the whole side plate down with the cleaner and then heat up the side plate and the graphic with the heat gun. We're going to start installing the graphic at the front of the side plate where there's a few holes that we need to line up. And then we're going to start working our way back. You want to start applying the graphic at the top of the curve and then work your way down the sides of it. And if you notice an air bubble or if something isn't lining up, it doesn't hurt to pull the graphic up and fix it. Because of the shape of the exhaust side panel, you're more than likely going to have to use the heat gun to stretch it in a few areas. With a heat gun, you got to be really careful not to burn the graphic or stretch it too much. If a crease starts to form in the graphic, just heat it up a little bit and use a squeegee to work it out. The squeegee works pretty good for this. The graphics are actually pretty flexible, so if something isn't lining up, don't be afraid to heat it up a little bit to make it fit. So once the whole graphic is applied, just go over it with the heat gun again and put pressure on it. And also look for any bubbles. If there's a bubble in the middle of the graphic, just use the flat blade screwdriver and you can work it out with that. And the final step is to wipe all the glue off the graphic with the cleaner. If the graphic is hanging off around any of the holes, get a knife and trim it off. I think the graphics turned out pretty sweet. If you want to watch the last tech lesson video I did about checking and reshaping valves, you can click this box over here. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can punch this box right here. Thanks for watching, everyone.